Some have called you China's Nostradamus. You had three famous predictions in 2024: that Trump would get elected, that he would start a war with Iran, and that he would lose a war with Iran.
Iran clearly has the strategic advantage. I think the next step...
Oh my God, is there a full one of this? I have to watch this shit. Professor Jiang? Ain't no way, big dog. Professor Jiang with Mehdi? Mehdi coming after my goat? Hello? Hello? That's f***ed up. Mehdi? You come at the king, you best not miss. Professor Jiang, my beloved. Seen a lot of naysayers in the chat. A lot of people who are calling into question the undisputed GOAT. Professor Jiang, some of you are not ready for the truth, it seems. It's fine, bro. One day you'll recognize. One day you'll learn. Professor 2016 Great Replacement, he's so funny. Everything he says is so funny. Full version here. Wait, it's only 4 minutes? What the f?
You had three famous predictions in 2024: that Trump would get elected, that he would start a war with Iran, and that he would lose a war with Iran.
Iran clearly has the strategic advantage. I think the next step in the escalation ladder is that Trump will send in ground forces.
Nikki Haley was key to your prediction about Iran. You said Trump would pick her as his running mate, but he didn't pick her.
I think that the problem with education is that it focuses too much on facts, too much on rigor, and not enough on imagination.
Too much on facts. Do you hear yourself? Does China control what you say now? Your critics might say they're using you as a propagandist.
It is possible I'm a useful idiot. And I suspect that there are many entities around the world who would like to amplify my message, including the Chinese government.
Hold on. You don't call yourself Professor Jiang on your YouTube channel?
I do now, but when I first started out, if you go way back to my early lectures...
It doesn't matter when you first started out. You do call yourself Professor Jiang and you're not a professor. What is your big prediction now for 2026? We'll see what happens.
Hater.
We can test it out at the end of the year.
Bro, Mehdi's been a hating ass bitch, bro. Yo, what the hell? I'm actually very glad that someone with, I mean, Mehdi is obviously very good at this stuff, but you know, he's also very smart. Glad that he's finally doing interviews with someone with a working brain. Professor Jiang, I mean. Bro, someone in the chat literally said, wait a minute, he's not a professor. Ain't no way. Ain't no way you thought he was an actual professor, bro. Open the schools. Open the schools. We're cooked.
Back in 2024, Chinese-Canadian educator Shui-Qin Jiang posted a video on his YouTube channel, Predictive History, where he laid out three big predictions. Donald Trump would win the 2024 election, the US would then go to war with Iran, and ultimately the US would lose that war. Since then, the self-styled professor who says he uses game theory to analyze the past and predict future geopolitical events has become an internet sensation, and has even been dubbed China's Nostradamus. But he's also faced some criticisms over his predictions and, many would say, pretty out there conspiracy theories. 2 out of 3 of Jiang's big predictions have come true. But how much of that is his own geopolitical foresight, and how much of it simply comes down to luck? How much does the Chinese government control or even influence what he says, what he predicts? I decided to not just speak to Shui-Qin Jiang, aka Professor Jiang, about Iran and the state of the world, but also to challenge him a bit. Here's our interview. Shui-Qin Jiang, thank you so much for joining me on Zeteo. You have said you use game theory to predict future geopolitical events.
Hate-ass bitch. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, Mehdi. He cooked his ass. Mehdi is the worst person for an unstoppable force like Professor Jiang. Okay? Literally could not face a worse person. If your goal is to do propaganda and or you know have an audience of easily fooled individuals and talk to a person that's just like not going to call into question what you're up to, definitely, you know, he was doing all these like sneako interviews and stuff, like he was cooking, right? Mehdi is gonna obviously put belt the ass here.
You've never heard of game theory. Please do explain what it is and how it helps you explain what's happening with Donald Trump and with Iran in particular.
Right. So game theory applied to geopolitics means that we see each individual nation state as a player in a zero-sum game to maximize its individual interests. And so each player would have its own characteristics, its own strengths, and it would adopt a optimal strategy in order to win the zero-sum game.
So how does that apply in the Middle East right now?
Right. So the United States is attacking Iran, and these two nation states have different strengths and weaknesses. So America has the world's greatest military. It has aerial supremacy. It has tremendous technology. It has unlimited funding. And so Iran is adopting.
Bro, I just realized he doesn't have his whiteboard. That's why he lost this battle. My goat didn't have his whiteboard. That's fucked up. Mehdi, put the whiteboard behind him. You got him on a handicap, man. That's fucked up. Y'all seeing this? Not my Professor Jiang. Mehdi should put the full video on YouTube, honestly. It would do LeBron numbers. Instead of keeping it behind a paywall. He didn't lose. He predicted he would tactically lose the battle. He's a kinetic thinker.
Asymmetrical strategy of holding the global economy hostage, meaning that rather than attacking the United States directly, which it cannot defeat directly, it is instead controlling the Strait of Hormuz, which is strangling the global economy, and it's attacking the GCC nations, the infrastructure of the GCC nations, in order to force Trump into the negotiating table.
I don't understand how this is game theory, by the way. Like, is that game theory?
So that is the asymmetrical warfare of Iran.
You've also predicted that the US, you had three famous predictions in 2024, that Trump would get elected, that he would start a war with Iran, and that he would lose a war with Iran. Based on what you've seen over the past month, do you still stand by that prediction?
Yes, I do. I think that after a month, I think that Iran clearly has the strategic advantage. And what I mean by that is that Iran is very clearly able to articulate its military objectives, and it has a very clear strategy of how to obtain these military objectives. And it is working very hard and very meticulously to obtain these objectives. This is the complete opposite of America, where Trump
Someone
has.
said, I predicted this too, and I'm not famous. Yeah, that's kind of the point. That's why it's like really funny that people were like, this is the most brilliant guy of all time. I guess, I mean, it is fair to say that if he predicted in 2024 that like Trump was going to win, which, you know, many people also predicted, and that he would go to war with Iran and then he would lose that war, that's pretty solid. I don't know if he predicted that through game theory, because I don't think he knows what game theory actually means. Kind of feels to me like he was just throwing shit at the wall and this one stuck. But everything that he's talking about past that point is just like pretty basic stuff.
Fail to articulate an end goal. And right now, it seems that the administration, the Trump administration, is unable to articulate both a strategy and a purpose to the American public, which is causing most Americans to not support this war. It's also causing low soldier morale among the American forces.
What do you think happens next if/when Iran wins?
Damn, Mehdi gave us a taste, bro. He gives us a taste. Mehdi, get that off the paywall, man. The people need to predict.
In the escalation ladder is that Trump will send in ground forces.
Nikki Haley was key to your prediction about Iran. You said Trump would pick her as his running mate, but he didn't pick her.
I think that the problem with education is that it focuses too much on facts, too much on rigor, and not enough on
The problem with education focuses too much on facts is a bar. Y'all are literally not spiritually or physically ready. Y'all could not predict that history, man. Average young listener, I've got more than lots of evidence to back this up, is you who's falled for propaganda. Or you could be CIA Mossad agent for what I know. Now wake up, do your research. It's a good time to do it. I will say more to you. This Professor Jiang does not say. These people from secret societies are not those in real power. They all serve alien entities who truly control this world. It's so funny. I think it's a testament to how much Chinese soft power has developed around the world without China literally doing much for it, to be fair. That like you can have a random Chinese guy and so many guys are just like, wow, this guy's brilliant, dude. Like zero qualifications. He's got a whiteboard and he's Chinese. And motherfuckers are like, well, this guy has ancient wisdom. I love it. Respect. Professor Jiang, my beloved.
On facts, do you hear yourself? You talk about this pretty far-right concept of Pax Judaica, a new world order centered around Israel. Surely you understand why a lot of people think at best you're trafficking in pretty anti-Semitic tropes, and at worst, you're...
He didn't even talk about my favorite, Pax Islamica.
You're a card-carrying anti-Semite.
Sorry, what is wrong with the term Pax Judaica?
You tell me. Does China control what you say now? Your critics might say they're using you as a propagandist.
It is possible I'm a useful idiot. And I suspect that there are many entities around the world who would like to amplify my message, including the Chinese government.
Hold on. You don't call yourself Professor Jiang on your YouTube channel.
I do now, but when I first started out, if you go way back to my
It doesn't
early
matter when
lectures-
you first started out. You do call yourself Professor Jiang and you're not a professor. What is your big prediction now for 2026? We'll see what happens. We can test it out at the end of the year.
First of all, I'm sorry to show you someone who's fraudulent, utterly devoid of the pedigree, and perhaps even more devastating, the whiteboard. This is fake, phony, Professor not Jiang, as I like to call every other professor. This is another Professor not Jiang.